Well, welcome back, folks, and yes, it's me again. We're going to continue on now talking about the little Suzuki TS50 restoration project. I'm that close to getting it done. Most of the mechanicals are done. Now we're moving on to repairing the bodywork to prepare the tins and the plastic pieces for repaint. And that's what we're going to be talking about next. Today I'm going to share with you the work that I have not done yet on this. This is the rear fender for the TS50. This is plastic. The front fender on this project, by the way, is steel. And I'm going to have to do quite a bit of repair on this piece. And I thought I would share with you my thinking going forward, how I'm going to approach it. I'm not necessarily going to show you all the various bits and pieces of the repairs themselves. Maybe some of it. We'll see as we get into it. It'll probably be a multi-part series of videos to do this work. And as you can see, I've started some of the prep work, which we'll talk about in more detail in a minute. And included in this conversation today, we won't get to any of the actual repairs today. I'm really setting up the project so you understand what I'm getting into. I'm going to talk about this little plastic repair kit here that I've purchased recently as well to assist with this project. So I'm going to go over here to the bench and convert to an overhead shot so we can get a little more detail. I can take you through my thinking, and then eventually we'll get into facilitating some of the actual. Well, we're at the bench now, and let's talk about the fender itself in a little bit more detail. This is ABS plastic, and my experience with ABS is that these old parts, they tend not to survive for a lot of reasons. Number one, the nature of how they're used, but also that I find ABS gets brittle with age. If I could have found or could find a NOS part to replace this, I probably would have gone that route. There are a lot of repairs that are going to be necessary on this part that you'll see and hear in just a second as I get into it. But even when you repair them, it's challenging to keep them in good shape, especially if the project is going to be ridden. This being a restoration, at least in my collection, it won't be ridden. Not near as much an issue typically, but old plastic like this, even after repair, it tends to crack, and I will illustrate something related to that here in just a moment. As you can see, I've actually started preparing the part. This is just aluminized tape. Comes on a roll like that. It's used typically for ductwork, heating systems. They usually keep a roll of that around, and it's aluminized, so it has a metal component to it, and i.e. heat resistant. And again, we'll talk about that in a little bit more detail. In terms of preparation, I have media blasted this whole part, as you can probably tell by the finish. I did that primarily to give the plastic a little bit of bite as I do the repairs, and for consistency's sake. Here, you can see I've already stripped the paint right here from here down, and up in here as well. The way I strip paint, again, this is ABS, so you have to be careful about chemically hot paint strippers that could affect this plastic. What I use on plastic such as this, virtually any plastic for that matter, is old-fashioned dot 3 brake fluid, and that's a holdover from my model railroad days. I used to do a lot of model railroading, and that was commonly used to strip OEM paint off of models if you're going to repaint them. And again, just dot 3. You don't want the modern synthetics. I think it's dot 5 if I recall. It won't harm the plastic, and it does a great job. As you can see where I had just immersed this part into a container, and it strips the paint right off in a relatively short period of time. I usually soak something like this overnight, but a few hours and it'll probably be good, excuse me, good to go. So dot 3 brake fluid is what I use to strip the part. Eventually, all the rest of it I'll remove as well, one way or the other, but right now I was more focused on repairs. To find one of these, by the way, NOS I think is virtually impossible. I've never seen one of these fenders NOS, and if you did find one, it'd probably be astronomically priced. You do find them on eBay from time to time, but very, very pricey. And in fact, the few that I have looked at over the last months and year, They're probably in worse shape than what this one is, frankly, and this is not in good condition. There was a dent right here. In fact, on the back side, you can kind of see it still protrudes. That was pretty bad. I think someone had bolted this for some reason. There's two holes. I don't know if you can see those or not. There's two holes right here that I filled. I made a slurry out of ABS and acetone, almost like a putty. And after heating this divot, it was shaped something like this. Someone had bolted through to the frame or something. I have no idea what they're trying to do. But nonetheless, that wasn't OEM. So I heated this gently and then rolled it with a socket and tried to get as much of that depression out as I could. There still is a little bit there, but primarily I was interested in filling the holes, frankly. So I used that slurry, that ABS slurry, as a filler, basically, and it worked. You can actually see the outline of it, I think, right there. It's got some pitting in it, which doesn't concern me at all. But what I have discovered, and I did that probably a month or more ago now, what I have discovered is I think I introduced stress into the plastic, because you can see a new crack right here. Let me get this up here so you can see that. I don't know if you can see it very well. Right there is a crack. Right there. That's new. That was not there a few weeks or a month ago when I did this. So I think by filling this, I introduced stress in the plastic and I cracked it further, to be honest with you. So live and learn. I've really never done a slurry. I have used slurry before for minor repairs, but never for anything this large. And in retrospect, probably wasn't the best approach, but we're going to fix that. Let's see. Let's go to the rear of the fender here. These holes right here are where the part of where the taillight mounts, and you can see they're cracked out right here. In fact, there's part of the plastic is missing, and I even have a piece of that here somewhere. I have that piece over on my other bench, I think, and you can see crack here. These are all stress cracks that I'm going to have to repair. And then moving up here to the front mounting tabs here and here, and again you can see I've started the repair there. These are the worst, and this one in particular right here is really in bad shape. You can see the crack starts here, runs all the way around, way up into here where I'm pointing with my left index finger. That whole area is cracked, and this is holding on literally by a thread. Same general issue on this side, the opposite side. It's not nearly as damaged. It's got one crack right here, which you probably can't see on video. I'm going to start my repair on this one just to get a feel for how it goes before I tackle the more complex and complicated repair, which will be this one. One of the issues I ran into on this part was that the previous owner, or a previous owner, was aware that of the stress cracks, and they had taken regular duct tape and wrapped it around in a U shape around the holes, a couple layers, and then punched a hole in the duct tape so that it could be reattached to the project or the bike. And that was done probably decades ago, and that adhesive from that duct tape, when I removed it carefully with a little gentle heat, because I didn't want to damage this anymore and I was concerned it was going to crumble, left adhesive behind, that old adhesive, which is very aggressive. Generally, duct tape is considered an aggressive tape, and it was all gooey all over here on both sides, all these spots, all four of them. So it took me a while to get that adhesive off. Again, you can't use acetone or brake fluid or carburetor cleaner because this is ABS, and that will damage the plastic. It'll etch it, it'll soften it, so those kind of cleaners are out. And I scraped it. I used electronics cleaner, which is safe on plastics. Ultimately, I went to the media blasting to help clean it off, and I think I do have all the adhesive off, because you want these parts non-contaminated. In other words, you don't want any kind of adhesive or glue or anything like that on on the plastic when you're going to attempt to repair it. I am not going to use an adhesive or a glue to try to repair this. It will never last. I'm not a real fan of using adhesives for high stress areas like here, here, and here, etc. Adhesives, in my opinion, this is my experience working with plastics, and I don't consider myself a pro, by the way, but I've done a bit of it. Adhesives, if you've got a linear crack like running straight here like in a body panel, you might be able to get by with adhesives. But when you've got a stress crack like this that will continue to be under stress, to attempt to repair that with an adhesive, I don't think will ever hold, not in a million years. So what I'm going to use is a plastic welding technique to repair virtually everything you see here, including this crack, this newly induced crack right here. This hole right here isn't really damaged, but it's kind of worn. I'm not exactly sure what that's all about, but I might, I don't know yet, build that up a little bit to strengthen it. These two holes right here on each side, they seem to be okay. These holes seem to be okay. This hole's okay. This, again, was created by bolting it to the frame and distorting the plastic. It's the mounting holes here for the taillight and the ears on both sides here. How am I going to repair this? I alluded to using welding technique, and there are a couple of ways you can go about this. People use soldering irons, they use wood burners. My buddy Pete from Ontario, who you've seen on several videos, is interested in the wire welding, where you actually use like a heated staple and you embed it into the plastic. I did consider that seriously for this project, and I think that would work good on something like this crack right here. I was concerned on because you got curves. These pieces are, are curved like that, and your space is kind of tight, it's confined, and it's complicated the shape. So I was concerned about using a staple in these areas here. It would probably work here. We got a crack, but I was concerned a staple would be difficult to manage in with these complex shapes. So what am I going to use? I ordered and going to use this little plastic repair kit. This is new, though I've opened it up and started to fiddle around with it. I haven't really done anything with it yet. And it's like almost like a soldering gun. You got a shoe right here. You thread that in. I haven't even plugged it in yet. You thread that in, this heats up. It comes with filler rod. I don't know if that's ABS. Doesn't really feel like it. It feels softer than ABS. It doesn't say what that filler rod is made out of. And a stainless steel brush. A little prop or support for when it's hot. Simple set of instructions, and this was one of the reasons I pursued this kit. It comes with a stainless steel reinforcing mesh or screen. You can see I've already cut a piece out. That piece I cut out is right here, and that is going to be used right in. Get this up here, something like that. And what you do on the back side, of course. And what you do is you take your shoe, once it's hot, and you actually soften the plastic and push this mesh right into the plastic. That's the whole idea. There are a couple other videos on YouTube that depict how to do this, and it's pretty easy to find tutorials on the process. But that's the idea, and this is a reinforcing mesh from the back side. And then, if necessary, you can use a filler rod. Again, whether I'm going to use this or not, I don't know yet. I'm not sure this is ABS, maybe. And then you could fill it once you reinforce it on the back, you could fill it on the front with some filler rod, or just taking the tip here and welding the cracks, etc. That's the gist of it. I think you probably get the idea. For this crack, I'm going to use reinforcement also, that being the stainless steel wire, or mesh rather, on the back side. So I'll cut a strip, going to lay it in here and literally burn it right into the plastic. I don't know what I'm going to do here on the face side. And again, I'll cut pieces of the wire mesh. In fact, as you can see, I've already started to fiddle around with that one and burn it in to reinforce the joint, and then decide what to do on the back side, or on the face side rather. So that's essentially what I'm going to do using this stainless steel mesh, reinforce on the back side these four, actually five, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and see how it turns out. Again, I'm not sure what I'm going to do here, right there I'm talking about. I've done plastic repair before, never this extensive. Frankly, I've done minor tabs that were broken off or cracks that have started to develop on various projects over the years. This is about as extensive as I've ever done. And as I had referenced at the beginning of this video, I normally would prefer not to have to get into repairing something with so much repairs required as this piece, but they're really not available that I found almost at any price. There was one on eBay recently that was in worse shape than this one, and I think they wanted like $130 US for it, or something crazy like that. And even when they're repaired, in my mind, they're always a little suspect because of the brittleness of this old plastic. And there are no reproductions out there that I'm aware of, given the fact that this is a relatively low volume production bike. I don't think anybody certainly put the effort into repopping these, because they wouldn't sell but a couple of them probably. So anyway, that's what I'm going to do. That's the project. That's the tools I'm going to use. And I think I explained why I'm not going to use the staple, the heated staple, because of the shape, the complex shapes. Though Pete, eventually I might get a stapler, a heated stapler system, but I don't think I'm going to do that for this project. First thing I'm going to do is practice on this one. Practice meaning the first one I'm going to do is this one, because that's the least complex of the four, not including this one right here. In fact, I might even start with this one just to see, because it's relatively flat. But these two will be the first two I do anyway, before I move on to these more complex shapes to see, get my sea legs a little bit and see how it goes. So that's the project. I'll bring you along from time to time, give you a feel for what I'm doing and how it's going or not. And any issues, questions, thoughts, drop me a note. Otherwise, as usual, thanks for watching.